Okay, welcome everyone to this wonderful Monday evening as we welcome in Mark Frankel and Irving Fishbaum, Saba, and Sean Fogel, Berish Gesserman, Baruch Ian, Shimon Klein. Shimon, it's great to have you. We hope you're going to be feeling better. Dr. Guy, Eddie Chazan, Nachman, Yisrael Fisher, Yitzi Muller, Rabbi Kranz, Moshe Jacknin, Daniel Rosenberg, David Helfgott on Kala Loshin. Tonight, first of all, the shir is sponsored by our Chaver Adaf, Shalom Fogel, in memory of his special father, Yaakov Zev ben Yehuda Aryeh, on his 28th yahrzeit. I knew his father always as Jack Fogel, and I spent many summers with him in Saltzman's bungalow colonies decades and decades and decades ago. I had the pleasure of playing ball with him many times, and he was a real wonderful person, and I remember him fondly. His neshama should have a lichtige Gan Eden. He should be a melitz yosher for his family, for all of us, and all of Klal Yisrael. Masechta is being sponsored by A.B. Spry for the tefillah that children should get into yeshiva pleasantly without any heartache. And we're also going to learn for tonight Shmaya Avram ben Edel, and for my shver Avigdor Aryeh ben Rivka, who gets a mazel tov this evening, together with my shviger, on the engagement of their granddaughter Yehudis. The granddaughter Chani, the granddaughter Chani, and mazel tov to them. The zivik should be Oila Yafa Zayin. We are holding over here, and we're going to get back to over here our medical Gemara after learning about the fascinating story with Shlomo HaMelech and Ashmedai. We're now going to get back to the amazing Talmudic medicine. We're going to see tonight how far ahead of the times the rabbis of the Talmud were. We are holding by Ledama Dereisha, which is five lines from the bottom of Daf Samaches Amud Beis, and the Gemara is now talking. Literally, it means for blood in the head. Rashi says that it means a headache that comes from high blood pressure. So, leisei shurvina. So, Atzko translates shurvina as boxwood. It's interesting how I have girsa de yankasa. I remember that because it comes from the word ta'ashur, and I remember the Sansino translated it as teak. Ubina, bina is willow, aravais, v'asadara, wild myrtle, v'zeisa, olives, v'chilfa. Chilfa is poplar. V'chilfe diyama, that's cloves, and v'yivla, Rashi says yivla is a type of herb. V'lishlekinu b'adei adadi, you should boil them all together, and then v'linto tlas mea kosei ahagi sidereisha, pour 300 kaises on one side of the head, and tlas mea kosei ahagi sidereisha, and then 300 kaises on the other side of the head. Now v'iloi. Now throughout this sugya, we're going to see the word v'iloi repeated. Now, one way of looking at v'iloi is if you can't get these ingredients, you don't have poplar available, you can't get boxwood, you can't get teak. Another explanation is that if it doesn't work, if the first remedy doesn't work, then leisei varda chivra, bring white roses, the koi bechadara, that these white roses grow all on one side of the stem. It's a unique white rose, and v'lishlekei, and you should boil it up, v'linto shitin kasya hagisa dereisha, and pour 60 cups on one side of the head, v'shitin kasya hagisa dereisha, and 60 cups on the other side of the head. Litzlichta. Now, tzlichta, as Rashi says, is a pain in half of the head, which we all know what that is. We all know that it's called a migraine, as we welcome in Yitzi Muller and Shelley Zeitlin. If a person has a migraine, so Lacey Tarnagola Bara, let him bring the wild rooster, which we talked already about once before with the shamer. V'lishchate bezuza chivra, he should shecht it using a silver sharpened coin, a silver zuz, and he should shecht the blood and let it fall as it comes out, the fresh lifeblood, on that side of the head that hurts him. However, make sure that you don't get the blood in the person's eyes. Be careful with the blood, that it shouldn't cause him to become blind. And then, after, he should take the dead rooster, he should hang it from the top of the threshold of the door, that when he comes in, his head will brush against it. When he leaves, his head will brush against it. And now we start the top of Samach Tes Amud Alpha as we welcome in Ruvain Pal just in time for cataracts. Not he shouldn't have cataracts, but just in time for treatments of cataracts. We welcome in Jay Altman. We welcome in Nathan Goldman. Nathan Goldman is joining us from Stuttgart. So Nathan, welcome from Stuttgart. And the Gemara tells us Lebrukte for cataracts. Now here it's so interesting that there's a purpose for everything. You see a scorpion. What's the purpose of a scorpion? It's such a dangerous creature. Leise akrava deshev chumrei. Bring a scorpion because of its age. It's already 7 colors. V'neyavshe betula, and you should dry it out in the shade. And v'nishchait, and you should grind it. You should put now in this concoction that you're going to make, tarte monza kuchla, 2 parts of eye makeup, the chada monza mine, and 1 part of this ground scorpion. V'limle tlasa mikkale b'hai eina, and put 3 applications of this mixture in one eye, utlasa mikkale b'hai eina, and 3 applications in the other eye, but make sure not to overdo it. Tvei light, not more. Tvei light limle, don't put in more. The Eloi, because if you put in more, paka eine, it could cause the eye chas v'sham to burst. Lishvrire delelia, for night blindness. People can't see. People stop driving in the night. They can't see. For night blindness, neise shidra barka. You should bring a rope made out of a tail of a horse or a tail of a cow, or maybe even the hair of a goat, and you should take that rope, v'neser chodakara mine, and tie one end to the foot of the person that has the night blindness, the chodakara mikalba, and one side of the rope to a dog. Now, here we'll see that although most of these Gemaras are herbalist in nature, there is some incantations here. This is one of them. V'nitrafu yenuka chaspa abasrei, let children rattle shards in back of him. V'leim relay, and they should say, asa kalba, old dog. Achsa tarnagola, mad rooster. Then, v'ligvei shev umtze, he should collect 7 pieces of meat. Mishiva bate, visiting 7 houses. V'lisvinu nihale b'tzinura dedasha. They should give him the 7 cuts of meat while he's standing in the doorway. V'nechlinu, and then he should eat the 7 pieces b'kilkulei damasa, by the city dump. Basar achi, after that, and only after doing all of this, lifshait shudra barka, he should untie the rope from the cow's tail or the horse's tail. V'neimru hachri, and he should say the following statement: Shavrire de plani bar planisa, the night blindness of his name, the son of his mother. Shavkinu le plani bar planisa, please leave so and so, the son of his mother. V'lichru le kalba, and then they should blow at the dog. Bebevisa de eine, in the pupil of the dog's eye. This is one of the more unusual remedies. L'shvire diyamama, for day blindness. Person is having trouble with his eyes. And in the schus of learning this, we all should have clear sight. L'shvire diyamama, for day blindness. Leise shiva sumke, he should bring, this is really interesting, he should bring 7 spleens, Megava the chiyusa, from 7 animals. V'nitvinu, and roast them achaspa de umna. He should roast them on the copper. Umna is a bloodletter. On the bloodletter shard that he takes the blood. Doesn't sound very hygienic. V'leisev iu megavoy, and he should sit inside. V'inish achrina me'avroi, and a healthy person outside of the house. V'neimalei, and when they're going to extend him this roasted spleen, v'neimalei avira, and the one who's having trouble seeing should say, Hovli de eichel, give me some that I should eat. V'neimalei haich psicha, and the seeing person on the outside should say, Sov eichel, take it to eat. Ubasa de achel, and after he eats, lit parei lechaspa, he should break the shard of the bloodletter, the ilai, because if not, hadre yilvei, the blindness could visit him again. L'damad asim in the chira, this sounds, of course, less threatening, unless it's very often. L'damad asim in the chira, for blood that comes from the nose, a nosebleed. Now the Gemara is going to give us different remedies for a nosebleed. Leise gavra kayin d'shmei Levi. Find a kayin whose name is Levi. A lot of kahanim are Levi. Some are Levium, but there are kahanim that are from the Levi family. So find a kayin whose name is Levi. V'licht of lei, and the person with the nosebleed should write Levi lemafrei. He should write Levi backwards. Yud vav lamed. I guess it's trying to get the blood to go back into the nose. V'ilai, if you can't find somebody whose name, a kayin whose name is Levi, or it doesn't work, lay say inish malma, bring anybody. V'nichtav lay, and write the following incantation. Ana papa yishila bar sumki, and write it lemafreya, backwards. V'ilai, and if not, maybe you can't write backwards, or if it doesn't work, nichtav leihachi, you should write the following incantation. Tam deli b'mei kesef, the taste of the bucket of silver water. Tam deli, the taste in the bucket b'mei pgam, of blemished water. V'ilai, and if this doesn't work, leise ikra das pasta, bring the root of grain that just grew a third. V'ashla de purya atika, and the rope of an old bed. V'kurtisa. Now, kurtisa is a type of cotton paper. Umarike, and that's saffron. V'sumka de l'oliva, and the red part of a palm tree. V'nikleno b'hadi adadi, burn them together. Then v'leise, this, they're going to put this concoction up the nose. V'leise gavra de amra, bring a ball of wool. V'nigdal tarte psilta, and make 2 wicks, spin 2 wicks. V'litmish b'chala, dip it into vinegar so that the concoction will stick to it. V'nigdable bekit ma'adain. And after burning all of that stuff, the rag paper and the saffron and the red part of the palm tree and the rope from the bed and the aspasta, the third grown grain, you should roll it in it, v'neisa b'nechire, and put each wick up the nose to stop the bleed. V'ilai, and if that doesn't work, a lot of remedies for a nosebleed. Lirzei amas hamayim, you should find a irrigation canal, the ozlis memizrach klape marv, that flows from east to west. And the person that has the nosebleed, v'nifsa v'nekim, he should stand and put chad kara lahagisa, 1 foot on one side of the canal, v'chad kara lahagisa, and the other foot on the other side of the canal. He should straddle the canal. V'nishkal tina b'yadei diyamina metuse kara d'smeila, from the bank of the canal, he should take with his right hand some mud from under his left foot. Ubiyadei d'smeila, and with his left hand, he should take some mud metuse kara d'yamina, from under his right foot. And then again, v'nigdol tarte psilta d'amra, he should spin 2 wicks of wool, v'nitmesh betina, and roll them in the mud, and then stick those 2 muddy wicks up his nose. V'neisa b'nechira. V'ilai, and if the nosebleed still doesn't stop, pretty stubborn nosebleed, v'ilai, leisev tusev marzava, let him sit under a gutter, and let him pour water into the gutter, that it should pour on his head. V'neisei maya, and bring water, v'lishte alei, and put the water in the gutter, and it should fall on his head. V'leimu, and say, ki echi deposke hani maya, just like this water stops. Lifts a dama the planya ba planisa, let the nosebleed of so-and-so, the son of his mother, stop. Now, what about if somebody, Rahman al-Islam, is bleeding from his mouth? Serious problem. He's bleeding from his mouth. L'dama da'asi mepuma, for blood that's coming out of his mouth, we have to determine where the blood is coming from. But kinan le begila dechitza, we check it with a blade of wheat. Isarich, if it sticks, then mereya kasi, then it comes from the lungs, takanta, and that's curable if it comes from the lungs. But the ilai, if not, Rahman al-Islam, bekabda kasi, it's coming from the liver, v'leslay takanta, and there's no remedy. So the Gemara says, you mean the liver is more serious than the lung? Amalei Rab Ami Ravasi v'anan ipchatanan. We learned the other way around. Nita lakaved, if the liver is removed, and there's nothing left, the animal is a treifa. But if something is left, the animal isn't a treifa. But hareya shenikva shechasra, but the lung, which is perforated or missing, that's already a treifa. So you see, the lungs are more severe than the liver. Here you're saying that if it's coming from the liver, it's more serious. Amalei, so he says, you know why? Because if blood from the liver is already coming out of the mouth, that means that the whole liver dissolved. Kevin the mepume kasi, since it's coming all the way up to the mouth, Eimer ismuche ismach. That means that the liver has completely dissolved. Amar, we said imereya kasi, if the blood is coming from the lungs, islay takante. So this is the medical Gemara. So what is the takana if the blood comes from the lungs? So what is the takana? So the Gemara says, and even though the Gemara says kune over here, we're going to be gairis bune. Bune is a fistful. We'll see later on the Gemara will say bune also. So we're going to be gairis it over here also. And I want to say how happy I am that we have Avram Schenkman joining us. And thank you for coming. And it's nice to have 26 Zoomers here on this Monday evening. I know that Aaron Slade will be joining us in progress. He has his Navi shit tonight. Some of these people like Ruvain, commit hooky sometimes because of other shurim. I don't know, I end up with the riffraff, that misshare because of shurim.
Riffraff and me.
What?
You get the riffraff and me.
Well, no, I'm not talking about you. You might have heard about it, Marshall. I know you can't believe it. You might have heard. I even have people that miss for a hockey game. I know that. I know you don't believe it. I know you don't accept lashon hara during the 9 days. I know.
Only in Tisha
Says the Gemara. Amamar imereya kaasi, if it comes from the lungs, it's like takanta, my takante. How do you help it? Leise shiva bune mepirma de silka. Bring 7 slices of beets. Beets, by the way, always in the Gemara, is considered a very healthy food. Gemara in Brachas tells us that beets are very good for the heart. The chamisha bune preda. Preda is either cherries or pears. Sounds like pears. Utlasa bune de talfuche, and 3 fists of lentils. The buna de kamona, and a fist of cumin. The buna de chavle, and a fist of some kind of ropish material. Ukenegdan, and equal to all of this, kansa petirta. You should take the schmaltz, the fat of a firstborn animal, v'levashel, cook it up, v'leichel, and eat it. And after eating it, v'lishta basrei shifra shichra charifa de tevis, and eat it out. Eat after drink afterwards. Quaff it down with strong winter beer. The Mefarshim on this, modern Mefarshim, talk a lot about how sharp beer could be good for the lungs. But anyway, that's a different discussion. Lekacha, for pain in the molars, wisdom teeth pain. Amar Rabba bar Avuna leisi tuma yechida, bring a lone clove of garlic, v'nimrisei, and smash it together with mishko milcha, with oil and salt, v'neisvei aturfei de yoina, and put it on the nail of your big thumb, dahu gisa de kayavle, and apply it to the side that hurts, on the handle like gedafna deletion, then ring it around with a ring of dough, but v'nizdar lebisrei, don't let the application touch the gums, because the kashe lechivre could chas v'shalom activate leprosy. Lechinche, for tonsillitis. Now this is something that was very common in my day. In my day, they don't do it anymore, but in my day, everyone had the tonsils removed. Nowadays, they don't even call it tonsillitis anymore. But in my day, everybody was getting tonsillitis, and everybody was getting the tonsils taken out. That was before they knew that the tonsils were a pretty important piece of our body. Ramilla was always said, don't say the tonsils are extra. Would you say that GM would put an extra part on the assembly line? Are they mishuga? So there's no way that the Rebbeinu Shalom would put an extra part into the body. Morabu Masecha Hashem Kulam B'Chachma Asisa. They're all invested with wisdom. Wisdom means purpose. Anyway, if a person has chinche, tonsillitis, so now the Gemara will give us different steps. The first thing you want to do is you want to stop it from swelling. You want to settle the swelling. So Amr Reb Yochanan, chumsei kimamru. Now chumsei happens to be pyrethrum. Pyrethrum is believe it or not, is today also used as an insecticide and also for medicinal purposes. Today it does both. So pyrethrum ki mamru, in the same amount as mamru. Now mamru is something called bald money, which I have no idea what that is, but it's something called bald money. My dictionaries failed to identify it.
People have no hair. That's what it's trying to say, right?
No, people that have no money. But anyway, but thanks for your help, Marshall.
You're welcome.
Everybody here appreciates it. But they appreciate more when you're on mute.
Well, that's just special.
Now, anyway, the ikre de chumse, and the root of the perethrum is odif, is even more than the bald money. V'ninkit bepume, he should keep it in his mouth. That's going to settle the swelling. Hani lukme, these ingredients are to stop the swelling. Leveshule, to cook it up, that it should gather pus. Laise pare deresh nafya, he should bring the bran, which is at the collected on the top of the sieve, v'talfkei bafrayu, and lentils with their earth, v'shavlilta, fenugreek, which is a type of vegetable, v'chumrosa de kshusa, the flour on top of hops, v'nimkai kamguza bepume, and keep about a acorn or nut size in his mouth. Li'iftuche, in order to cause the pus to burst open, which is the beginning of the healing of the tonsillitis, linpach lechavre tachle chivrasa, get somebody like Marshall to shoot cress seeds into your mouth at the tonsils. I see him smiling already. Begila de chitas, with a wheat straw. Now, once you cause it to be open it up, now you got to cauterize it, you got to close it. So la suke, to heal it, leise, this is really something. Leise afra mitula de beisakise, bring some earth from the shade of the lavatory. V'nigbal beduvsha, and knead it with honey. V'nechel, and eat it demalale. I mean, one of the lessons of this is that there is a purpose for everything, even for the earth in the bathroom. Levarsam. Now, varsam, that's another word that is not common. Catarrh. Catarrh is an inflammation of the mucous membranes in the head, which cause schnaz to come out of the nose. So, for catarrh, leise kipistika ninishtar, bring like an acorn worth of ammonia. V'chi amguza de chelbanisa duvshinisa. The chelbanum, of course, is galbanum. So bring sweet galbanum, nuts full of sweet galbanum. Omali tarvada duvsha chivra, a ladle full of white honey. Omalei natla, and a natla, which was a measure in mechuzah. Omalei natla bas mechuzah, and a measure in mechuzah of, it's a type of liquid measure in mechuzah of chamer nikida, of clear wine. V'nishla kinu b'adei adadi, boil them together. V'chi bashal nishdar, and when the ammonia is cooked, that's a sign that bashal lekule, the whole mixture is finished cooking. V'ilai, can't get a hold of sweet galbanon, can't get a hold of ammonia. Leise revi'asa dechalba de'iza chivarte, get a revius of goat's milk, a white goat's milk, and v'nitaife atlas kalke krava, drizzle it over 3 cabbage stalks. V'nifchashe, and when you're boiling it, you should stir it begavza de marmara, with a twig, branch of the marmon tree. V'chibosh, and then cook the branch in it as well. V'chiboshel gavza b'marmahain, when the branch is cooked, bashal lekule. V'ilai, and if not, let's remember what this is for. This is for catarrh, for the schnaz. So, v'ilai, this is really something. V'ilai leise nofke de kalba chivra, take the feces of a white dog, v'nigbal benitva, and roll it with some balsam, and eat it. Try not to eat the feces. It needs to be mixed, but try not to eat pieces of feces. V'kama de efsher nafka loy nechel. You shouldn't eat the feces, the mafrik. It could cause the body to become disjointed. It could cause sterility. Legira. Rashi says that this is a sharp, in the old French word in Rashi over here, means a sharp pain in the heart. Lo yaleinu. Legira, leise gira de lilta. Now, gira de lilta, I mean, we know Lilith is the queen of the demons. This refers to some kind of an arrow-shaped particle that comes down with hail. It's interesting, while I was preparing this, I got a notice from the Weather Service that in upper New York, they were expecting severe, dangerous hail tonight. Baruch Hashem, it was till 8 o'clock, so Baruch Hashem, we didn't get it. Artschool actually learns over here that it's a substance from a meteor. It's a meteoritic substance. Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi just says that it comes down together with the hail. So you should take this piece that comes down together with the hail, and you should pour water over it. V'nifchei, turn it upside down with the point facing the ground. V'nishtei mayel, they pour water over it, v'nishtei, and drink it. V'ilai, so since when did you say that there's no cure for the common cold? V'ilai leisei memaya de ishtei minayu kalba belelia, bring from water that a dog drank in the night. Somebody would say, I'd rather have the shnaz. But if, even though it was out in the night, make sure it wasn't left unattended. V'nizdar migiluya, from water that was left uncovered, because we're afraid that a snake might have drank from it. Now, what happens if ligiluya? What happens if you drink uncovered water that maybe a snake might have drank from? So, anpeka de chamrachia, you should drink a revius of raw wine. Lemursa, mursa is a pus pimple. Lemursa, anpeka de chamra, you should drink a revius of you should drink a revius of wine, ba'ola toilana, mixed with red aloe. Lepircha deliba, for fluttering of the heart. And this brings along a tendency to faint. So leise klas brushaisa desare, bring 3 loaves of barley. It almost sounds like biscuits of barley. V'nishterinu bekamcha, smear it with mayonnaise. Deloy over ilvei arbon yomin, that's not 40 days old. V'neichel, and eat it. V'nishte abasrayu chamra marka, and drink diluted wine. It says the Gemara, after that, he'll surely get faint. Then if he does that, his heart will flutter more. We have to give him something sharp. That was a remedy for heaviness of the heart. Lepircha deliba, for fluttering of the heart. Leise tlas brushaisa dechite, bring 3 biscuits of wheat. V'nishterinu b'duvsha, smear it with oil, with honey, not oil, smear it with honey. V'neichel, and eat the wheat biscuits with honey. V'nishte abasrayu, and drink after it chamrechia, raw wine. What about Sircha Deliba? Sircha Deliba is, Rashi says, Ka'ev Halev, pain in the heart. So here again, look how the Gemara gives us amazing ingredients over here. Right? This is for pain in the heart. Leise tlas beye ninya, bring the volume of 3 eggs of mint. Ubeasa de kimuna, and 1 egg volume of cumin. Ubeasa de shumshemei, and 1 egg's volume of sesame. Mix them together. V'leicha. Now, what about lekev meyai? What about a stomach ache? Leise tlas meya palpale arichta. Bring 300 long peppers. Vikol yume nishte meya minayu bechamra. Mix 100 of them in wine and drink that for 3 consecutive days. Ravin the Minarish, Avadol the Brate de Ravashi, Ravin from Narish made for the daughter of Ravashi who was having stomach ailments, Meya v'chamshin mahani didan, because obviously in Bavel their peppers were better and it was enough to have 150 and to mix 50 a day. The itze. Lekirtza. Now kirtza is a type of tapeworm. Lekirtza, anpika de chamra, you should take a revius of wine, ba'atrifa de ara, with a leaf from a laurel tree, that mixed together. Lekirtza chivra, for a white tapeworm, leise bizra galgila. Now here, it's seeds of galgila. The art scroll translated is as rocket. I seem to remember, again, Girsa de Yankisa, that the Sansino translates as something called eruka. Vinitzaire b'shitza. Now here the Gemara is going to make a old-fashioned tea bag. You should take these seeds. These seeds are dangerous. You're not allowed to swallow these seeds. They could pierce the stomach, Rahman al-Islam. So you have to manufacture with shitzag. Shitzag is a cotton. You have to manufacture from the cotton a tea bag. V'nisaire b'maya, soak it in water. V'nishte, and drink it. However, m'nizdar mebinas, make sure you don't swallow the seeds. The Eloi, because if you're going to swallow the seeds, menakvala l'maynei, it could pierce the stomach. L'meisar, if you want to bind, in other words, if somebody has diarrhea, so then he should have sisin retiva, moist pennyroyal, soaked in water, b'maya. Lemishra, if he needs it to be for laxative purposes, he has constipation, then he should use yaveshta b'maya, dry pennyroyal soaked in water. V'simonech, and to remember not to confuse it, itza retiva, moist bulrushes, the sucker nara, stuffs up the river. So we see that moist pennyroyal is what uses to stuff it up. In other words, to bind and stop diarrhea. Litakla, for a swollen spleen. Litakla, leise shev bine demaya. This is very interesting. Take 7 leeches, water leeches. Yavshinu, dry them out, betula in the shade. Vikol yuma, and every day, nishte tarte utlasa b'chamra. Drink 2 or 3 with wine. V'ilai, and if he doesn't have that, leisi takla de tziparta, he should take the spleen of a goat, a female goat, the late ifsach, that never gave birth, v'netachye betaner, and stick it into the oven to dry it out, v'nuke ladei, and the person with the swollen spleen should stand by the oven, v'nema, and say, ki heichi diyovish haitakla, just like that spleen is dried out in the oven, niyavish takila the plani bar planisa. So his spleen should dry out and stop being swollen. Pliny, the son of his mother, Bilai. If he doesn't do it in the oven, the takya bein urbe the beisa charta, he should stick it in between the bricks of a new home, which dries it out. V'nei ma'achi, and say just like it's dried out, his should be dried out. Bilai. If not, this is a pretty big chiddush. To use a corpse for refuah. This is a very big chiddush, as we welcome in Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg for our 30th Zoomer of the evening. Very wonderful. What?
You have a question?
V'ilai, and if not, livke shachba, he should take a corpse, d'shachiv b'shapsa, that died on a Shabbos. V'nishkalei liyadei, he should take the hand of the corpse. Obviously the corpse is not buried yet. V'noisvei atachle, and he should put it near his spleen. V'neima ki echid yovish hayada, just like this hand of the corpse is dried out. Niyavish tachila the plain bapalanisa. Let the spleen of so and so, the son of his mother, be dried out. The Eloi, and if not, neise benisa. Now here, this refers to a fish. The Eloi, and if not, neise benisa. He should bring a fish. V'netavya beinafcha, and he should roast it on the coals used by the blacksmith. V'neichla b'maya de beinafcha, and he should eat it soaked in the water that the blacksmith uses to cool off his equipment. V'nishtei b'maya de beinafcha, and then afterwards drink that water. And the Gemara wants to show how the stuff in the blacksmith's workshop is beneficial to shrink the spleen. There was a goat that drank the water from the smith. They slaughtered it. They couldn't find the spleen. So you see, the water of the blacksmith's shop helps to shrink the spleen. If not, lifta chavita de chamra l'shmei. If he has a swollen spleen, then buy him a big jug of wine and open it special from him. In other words, drinking wine helps to shrink the spleen. Amalei Ravashi, the son of Rabbi, said to Ravashi, islay chavita de chamra. If he had a container of wine, lo yasa the kamei damar, he wouldn't need our remedy, because if he would drink wine, then he would not need a remedy for a spleen, a swollen spleen. Ella, he said, a good eitzah is meragel b'pas shachris. The Gemara always trumps bread at breakfast. Should eat bread at breakfast, the male lekule gufa, because that's good for the whole body. Now, l'rush chasa. Now, Rashi translates rush chasa as tachtonias, which students of Shas know that means hemorrhoids. So what does he do when he's suffering from hemorrhoids? So leise akika. Now that's a very rare word. What's akika? Akika is acacia, and v'ilva, that's aloe. V'aspircha is quicksilver. Umartecha is the dross when they're making the silver. V'chumrasa, the piline, and a locket that contains in it the fragrance phylone. V'shi'afta de chamimta. This is unusual. V'shi'afta de chamimta is, you're writing this down? V'shi'afta de chamimta, and the feces, everything is used. The feces of a dove. V'ninkat v'shachke de kisna b'kaita, and he should put it all in rags of linen in the summer, or the amar gufna besitfa, and rags of cotton in the winter, and apply the whole thing in the area of the hemorrhoids. V'ilai, if he can't get a hold of quicksilver, he can't get a hold of the phylone, he can't get a hold of the acacia, so then lishtei shikra marka, then he should drink, this is a lot easier, diluted beer. Now, the shigraina. Now, what's shigraina? So shigraina is some kind of a disease in the hips. Leise pasya de munine, let him bring a lot of small fish, a lot of minnows, and have brine, manufacture brine from the minnows. V'nigdere shitin zimna aha matkase, v'shitin zimna aha matkase. And rub the brine 60 times on one hip and 60 times on the other hip. You writing all of this down? Now, litzmirta. Now this is painful. Litzmirta, and it's amazing how the Gemara is showing that the Rabbeinu Shalom provided remedies from everything, from natural sources. It's really fascinating. It helps us realize what I said over from Rav Miller. Marabu Masecha Hashem Kulam B'Chachma Asisa. Everything that He made in the world, did we know that a scorpion could be used for a remedy? Grinding it has to be a scorpion that's old with 7 colors. It could help for cataract. It's amazing. So here, this is very painful. Litzmirta, this is a stone in the urinary tract, both by a man or by a woman. So neisei tlas need to faisa mishcha de kufra. He should bring 3 drops of tar oil. The tlas need to fasayu itzra de kars kreise, and 3 drops of pressed leek. The tlas need to faisa de chamra nikida, and 3 drops of clear wine. And now he has to use an applicator to stick it up, v'lishte leila in ish ba'ama, and stick it up the male organ, u'leisha ba'isa makam, and the woman by that place, by our vaginal canal. V'ilai, if those remedies are not available or they don't work, then leise una dezika, he should bring the handle of a wineskin, the lisle leish ba'am, and hang it on the male organ, or leisha bedaden, and on the woman's breasts. V'ilai, if that doesn't work, leise chuta de zuhurisa. Listen to this. He should bring a red thread, the shotze that's spun by a duma bas duma, by a woman of ill repute, the daughter of a woman by an ill repute. Even they have value in medicine. V'lisla leish ba'ama, and hang it on the male organ, or leish bedaden, the woman by her breasts. V'iloi, and if not, leise kina de zachar unekeva. He should take a louse removed from a man's body and a woman's body. V'litla leish ba'ama, and put it by the male organ, or leisha ba'isa makam, and the woman by the vaginal canal. V'chi mash, now, we want to recover this stone that's coming from the tract. Maybe it's a kidney stone. We want to recover this stone because the stone is good. Here, mimaka atzma misakan aritia. From the wound itself, Hashem's passion's a cure. This stone is good for the cure of all fevers. So therefore, nashtin, the person should urinate asisna yaveshta, on dry thorns, betzinura didasha, by an open doorway where there's light coming from the doorway. Ona'ayin b'chumrasa denafik minei, look for the stone that comes out, which will be not camouflaged when it falls on the thorns. Demalya lekulut smirta, it's good for all kinds of fever. Litzmirta bra, for an external fever. This is an external fever. I would imagine it's not coming from any internal organ. Leise tlasa grive sufle, he should bring 3 saw of date pits, utlasa grive atrif adra, and 3 saw of the leaves of a eder tree. Remember we had in the Gemara, it says that if a person has an adra, that's a very choshev tree. Everybody knows, it's so-and-so's eder. It's a very choshev tree. V'nishlekinu kol chad lechad l'chudei. Boil up the eder leaves separate and the date pit separate. V'leisa beinai, he should put the 2 containers on the table and he should sit in between them. or on the floor, and then afterwards, boiling them up, he should put it in 2 buckets, and bring a table, and he should put the buckets of the boiled eder leaves and the boiled date pits, he should put it under the table, he should sit above the boiling eder leaves, sit above the boiling eder tree, and then sit above the boiling date pits, and go from the date pits, and go back to the laurel leaves, until the heat rises and affects him. And then and then he should drink, but don't drink only drink from the eder leaf concoction. Don't drink from the water of the date pits, that could cause sterility. Litzmirta gavna, if it's some kind of an internal fever from an internal organ, leise shiva bune. See here it says bune and not kune. And again, we learn about that wondrous food, beets. Leise shiva bune de silka. You should bring 7 fistfuls of beets. Each fistful comes mishev mishari from 7 different beds of beets. V'nishlekinu ba'afrai. You should boil them together with the earth that they grew in. V'neichel, and eat it. V'nishtei ateref adra, and you should drink it. A mixture of atrif adra, of these eder leaves, b'shichra, with beer. V'iloi, or in veitala, you should have grapes from a vine that was hung over a red palm tree, b'mayim, with water. Now, l'chazosisa, if a person has some kind of a reddish rash, a moist rash, he says it's a yalefes. It's like a boil, but it's a moist boil. Leise shev chite azniyasa, he should bring 4 fat wheat kernels. V'niklinu amara charata, he should burn it on a new hoe, shouldn't be a hoe that's rusty. V'nafik mishka minayu, he should extract the oil from these plump kernels. V'neshev, and smear it on the lefes, on the eruption. Rav Shimi Ba'ashi Ovid Leilahu Ovid Kechavim. Rav Shimi Ba'ashi used this ointment for a guy, l'davar acher, for a cure for leprosy. V'itze, and the guy was healed. Amar Shmuel, Hayman de Mochule Ba'alunche de Parsai, somebody that was wounded with a Persian spear. Now, Persian spears are fatal because Persian spears are tipped with poison, so they're fatal. So he's not going to live. But you want to give him a little time that he could at least be mitzvah to his family. So adahachi v'achi, to buy some time, nisfulei bisra shmeina agumrei, prepare for him fat meat on coals, v'chamra chaya, and raw wine, efshe dechaye person, maybe he'll live a little bit, umafkid abese, and he'll be able to give instruction to his house. Amar Ravidi Barava, Haiman de Bola Zibura, if somebody swallowed a hornet, he's not going to live. This was, of course, a specific type of poisonous hornet. But adahachi, in the meantime, nashke reviasa de chalasham, he should be given a revius of strong vinegar. Efshe dechaya persa, it's possible that he'll live a little bit, umafkid lebeise, and he'll be able to be mitzvah to his house. Okay, Rabbi Say, we're going to stop over here. I went a little bit extra I went a little bit extra. Maybe let's go a little bit more extra, because I wanted tomorrow night, I want to learn 2 blat to get ahead for Tisha B'Av. Let's learn a little bit more.
Up for a question?
I'm Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Ochel basar shar belefes. If somebody eats meat with turnips, the marshal wanted to have franks and turnips. So he ate shar belefes, meat with, actually this is ox meat, with turnips. V'lon balavana, and he slept under the moon. B'leila yudalad oy tesvav. That means when there's a full moon, b'tkufas tamas, during the summer. Oy chazatu achilu. He'll be seized with a fever in the bones, a fire in the bones. That's what the Gemara is going to say, what achilu is. Tana, v'amamale kreisa mikol davar. If he fills his stomach from any food, like chili, oy chazitu achilu. He'll be seized by this bone fever. Amar Papa, afilu mitamre, and that's even if he overeats dates. So the Gemara says, well, Pshita, you just said anything. So the Gemara says, I might think dates, not dates, is a wonder food. So since the master said, Tamre, dates, mazban, it fills you up. Umeshachnon, it warms your body. Umeshalshin, it loosens the stools that you shouldn't be constipated. Umashron, it strengthens you. V'loy mefankan, and you won't be spoiled. You won't need it. So it's a wonder food. Emaloi, I might think overeating on it is not a problem. Kamash malon, it's a problem to overeat anything. Now, my achilu. What is achilu? Amar Rabbi Lazar, eish shel atzamas. It's a fire of the bones. My eish shel atzamas. Amar Abaya, eish garmi, which is called a fever in the bones. Now, well, tomorrow, Mirz Hashem, I hate to do this, but tomorrow we'll discuss what the remedy is for fever in the bones. Marshall has been begging to ask a question, so Marshall, what's your question?
Thank you. Looking at all these strange remedies for all these things, and the only one that seems to stand out that would be even questionable would be eating leeches. That's a beria. Everything else is bits and pieces. They're ground up. They're
well. Here also, it's talking about where they cut it up.
It didn't say. Yeah. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyway, Ramosha has an opinion that if it's eaten shloi kederach achila for medicinal purposes, it's not.
Leeches are treif, no?
Yes.
So you can do it? Is eating it?
Scorpions are also treif.
Right.
So if
but
it's
they're being ground up.
But if it's done for medicinal purposes, it could be done. It's a famous tshuva Moshe that if there's no equivalent to Robitussin, so then you could take Robitussin, even though it has glycerin in it, and it's clearly treif. Treif is the wrong word for it. It's a pig derivative. But if there's no equivalent, then it's not taken derech achila, and it's done for medicinal purposes, you'd be able to do it. Rabbi say, we will continue this tomorrow, and tomorrow be prepared that we will try to learn 2 blats so that we should be prepared for Tisha B'Av. Also, we want to again mention that we learn lovingly for Yaakov Zev ben Yehuda Aryeh. His neshama should have an aliyah. I think this was a nice Gemara to learn for Jack Fogel. He was such a person that cared about people. We're going to do now the Mishnah Yomis, so don't go anywhere. It would be a shame. I hate to push the button and cut off Stuttgart. Somebody joining us tonight all the way from Germany stayed on the whole time for this exciting Gemara. Let's go. This is Gittin Daf 69.